I was forced to hug a client who harassed me. And I'm telling you now because what happened in the moments before and after that hug changed the way I saw my workplace, my voice, my worth, and even the way I trusted people who smiled too much while doing nothing to protect me. And I promise, if you stay with me to the end of this story, you won't just understand why I needed to speak out, but you'll see how this isn't just about me or about one man or one hug. It's about a system that survives on silence and a culture that politely punishes those who speak. Please, before I go any further, hit that subscribe button because stories like this get buried, hidden under corporate apologies and PR statements. And we need platforms where the truth has room to breathe. And if you're watching, I urge you, listen closely. I'll take you into rooms I never wanted to enter, into conversations that made me question whether my boundaries were real, into silences that screamed louder than words ever could. This happened 2 years ago, but parts of it still live inside my skin. I still remember the chill in the air that day, the way I debated every word in my emails, the way I replayed conversations over and over in my head to check if I was being too sensitive or too dramatic. It began when I got promoted. Funny how promotions are always celebrated, even though sometimes they just push you closer to the fire. I was moved into clients' relations, which meant face-to-face meetings with our highest paying clients. One of them was Mr. R. That's not his real name. I won't give it. Not because he deserves protection, but because I'm not here to defame. I'm here to reveal. Mr. R was everything people in power tend to be: wealthy, charming, entitled, and expertly manipulative. People loved him. He'd walk into our offices and everyone would suddenly smile brighter, laugh louder. I noticed it from day one. My manager told me, he's our biggest asset. Just make sure he's always happy. At first, that meant preparing reports ahead of time, anticipating his preferences, arranging his coffee the way he liked. But then it meant staying a little later when he dropped by unannounced. It meant laughing at jokes that made my stomach twist. It meant pretending not to hear the way he commented on my clothes. "You look expensive today," he said once. Another time, "You know you're the reason I don't cancel these meetings, right?" I'd laugh awkwardly, trying to steer the conversation back to business. And then came the text messages. "You handled that meeting beautifully." Then, "Bet you look just as good outside of the office." I froze when I read that one. I didn't reply, but I didn't report it either. Not yet. Because that's the thing. Harassment doesn't always start with the crash. Sometimes it begins like a whisper. You doubt your discomfort. You tell yourself it's just one message. Maybe he meant it innocently. Maybe I'm imagining it. And then another message comes, and another. "Wish I had more meetings with just you. You're so refreshing compared to other women in suits. Let's grab a drink sometime. Don't worry, I won't tell your boss." I documented each one, took screenshots, forwarded them to my personal email. And then one day, he touched my waist during a meeting, just a brief, casual slide of his hand as he walked past me. Everyone saw. No one flinched. That's when I knew my silence wasn't protecting me. It was protecting him. So I went to HR. I brought the messages, the timeline. I expected shock, concern, but the woman in HR didn't even blink. She said, "I understand how that could be uncomfortable, but Mr. R has a unique personality. He's very hands-on with people he likes." Hands-on. That's how she described it. Like I was being hugged by a puppy, not stalked by a man who knew the company would shield him. I left that meeting feeling worse, smaller, and more alone. After that, things changed. Mr. R started showing up more frequently. He'd drop by for quick chats that lasted an hour. He'd ask my manager where I was if he didn't see me. He said, "I miss her energy." And then came the event. Our team was hosting a client appreciation night, a lavish evening, food, lights, speeches. And guess who was invited as the guest of honor? Mr. R. When I saw his name on the RSVP list, I felt my chest tighten. I emailed my supervisor requesting to be reassigned that night. I said I wasn't comfortable. I didn't give details because by now I knew that details made people defensive. She replied, I understand your concern, but this is a critical client. We need your best energy there. Be gracious, be professional. The evening came. I dressed in the least form-fitting thing I could find, kept my hair tied, my makeup minimal. I thought if I could just look invisible, I'd be safer. But visibility was the whole point of the evening. My job was to greet each client at the entrance, offer drinks, walk them in. And then I saw him, Mr. R. He wore a dark suit and that same smug smile I'd learned to hate. He walked toward me with open arms. There's my favorite person, he said. My hands went cold. I stepped back instinctively. But before I could say anything, my manager, who stood nearby, leaned in and whispered, Just hug him. Don't make a scene. Just hug him. I can't explain the feeling of betrayal in those words. She knew. I had told her, and still she said, hug him. I did, because I was afraid not to, because I didn't know what refusing would cost me. I stepped forward. I hugged him. His hands pressed against my lower back, his body pressed too close, and his mouth came near my ear, and he said, You feel amazing. I wanted to vanish. Instead, I smiled, because people were watching, because I had been taught to smile even when my soul was breaking. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I kept seeing his face, hearing his voice, replaying the hug, and something inside me shattered. I wasn't just humiliated. I was angry, furious, not just at him, but at them, at every person who let it happen, at every system that required my silence. I went back to HR the next day. I gave them a new folder, new screenshots. I told them what he whispered, what my manager said. HR listened. They took notes. They promised to investigate. And a week later, I was moved to a different team. No explanation, just restructuring. Mr. R continued working with the company. I wasn't allowed to discuss the incident publicly for legal reasons. So I took the evidence to a lawyer, not to sue, but to ask, what are my rights? What can I do when the harasser is the golden goose and I'm the dispensable one? My lawyer helped me file a formal complaint with the regulatory body. That triggered an external review. And then things began to shift, quietly, internally. Executives were questioned, HR policies rewritten. My manager was suddenly no longer my manager. Mr. R's contract was reevaluated. But no one apologized. No one said, we failed you. Because in their eyes, this was just handled. I left the company soon after, not because I was ashamed, but because I refused to keep building a future in the place that had tried to crush my present. I started over, found a company with a woman CEO who believed that respect isn't optional, it's fundamental. And I began speaking, first in small spaces, then to wider audiences, about power, silence, fear, and about how compliance in the name of professionalism is just another word for permission. Today, I mentor others. I help people recognize red flags. I help them build documentation. I remind them, your discomfort is valid. Your story is real. You're not being dramatic. You're being awake. And if you're still watching, thank you. Thank you for staying through this, for not clicking away, because I know this is hard to hear, but it's harder to live through. And if you've ever been in a situation where someone crossed a line and everyone else told you to smile, know this. You are not alone. You deserve better. You deserve safety, respect, dignity. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, please subscribe, share this, leave a comment, not for the algorithm, but for the silence that needs breaking. Every time we speak, we make it harder for these stories to be erased. And remember, harassment doesn't always look like a monster in the dark. Sometimes it looks like a handshake, a joke, a smile, a hug you didn't want. And those moments matter. You matter. And I will never stop saying it.